It's only been about a week since a documentary pissed me off, but it has been quite a while since one made me cry. The Perfect Neighbor is a Netflix documentary that debuted at Sundance earlier this year. If you've not heard of this case, buckle up. Using bodycam footage from dozens of police visits, The Perfect Neighbor bears witness to a tight-knit community navigating one neighbor's relentless harassment. But her hostility takes a sinister turn when it escalates into a fatal crime. So what we've got is this Florida neighborhood where there are a bunch of rental homes on a street. In one of the duplexes, maybe it's a quadplex, lives this white woman who believes that she has full control and rights to all of the grass area that sits adjacent to her home. She doesn't, though. She repeatedly calls the cops on the neighbors, with claims ranging from the kids are trespassing and won't leave to them making threats to her safety. Now, because of the uniqueness of how this is shown to us, the documentary takes a crap ton of police body cam footage and then strings together the narrative of their interactions with the woman as well as with all of the neighbors. What we don't see, though, is any footage from the Karen. That's what the kids refer to her as. But Susan Lawrence is her real name. But we do get to see video from the neighbors' ring cams and even their cell phones. Now, as documentary film, it is absolutely devastating to watch. I mean, honestly, it had my blood boiling just so badly because of this one woman's insistence that she's always in the right and then always a victim. It becomes evident that the police, they don't even fully believe her claims because so many unaffiliated testimonies from neighbors up and down the street corroborate exactly the opposite of what she says happens. And to give the benefit of the doubt, I mean, yeah, you know what? The kids are probably noisy as they play outside in the sprawling lawn area. And I'm sure they caused a ruckus. That's what happy kids playing sounds like. Again, though, this isn't Susan's property. It'd be like me moving next to a community park and then complaining that kids are playing there and people are walking their dogs. I'd be like the crazy old guy yelling, "Get off my lawn!" But it's not my lawn. The asinine presumptive privilege that this chick has is just astonishing, and it seriously grounds for bringing back the practice of putting people on burning pyres. From the tone, even the growing frequency of the calls, it's more than evident that there is going to be some sort of altercation. But since I didn't know about this case, it was a massive shock to hear the calls and then watch the footage unfold. We hear a radio call come in one police cruiser for a 911 dispatch. The cop recognizes the address and the caller. And then just a bit later, we get to listen to an additional call where the same caller at the same address is now stating they just shot their gun through a closed door. Holy frick. Now, this is the part that just brought me to tears. We see the neighbors and the kids all hearing what sounds like a shot, then inundating 911 with calls for help, and then witness the body cam imagery of deputies working on a victim while medics are on their way. There's also some video that shows the cops coming up to the shooter's home with their guns drawn and calling out commands. And because this happened in 2023, very recently, the body cam technology, it's high quality, so we don't get all sorts of grainy and ambiguous video. This is clear, easily seen, so much that we can see the facial expressions and the mannerisms of the offender. And those, they are revolting to watch as the detached disdain, even nonchalance, just oozes from her smug jowls. We're also made privy to the conversations between deputies all throughout the film as they respond to repeated calls that are completely unnecessary. The asides showcase the frustration, even disbelief at the brazenness of Lawrence, at believing that she owned the street and then had a definitive say in how the kids played on property that wasn't hers. I love some of the remarks that had deputies telling both Lawrence and then the neighboring families they would much prefer to see all of these kids playing together and having fun than doing anything sketchy that they really could be involved with. I'm grateful we also get to watch interrogation footage because, while a lot of time in these true crime documentaries, we watch the police hardballing or even lying to get a confession. Here, they're calm, patient, rational. They just let her dig her own hole. There's also the point, though, where I swear if she had been any color other than white, she wouldn't have been treated so calmly as she was. She openly and then repeatedly defies police directives while in custody, and they slowly just talk her through it. We could all pretty much agree that if she wasn't white, the moment she said no to them, she would have been batoned and then forcibly moved. If I'm honest, deep down, I really wanted this to happen to Lawrence. Not because of her color, but because of her nasty and polluted soul. Now, while it's not known, even claimed explicitly, I'm sure that some of the conflict and then elevated self-worth that was demonstrated by Lawrence was because the majority of the neighbors and the kids were black, and she is white. It's easy to assume that just simply because of her repeated verbal assaults on all of the neighborhood, but what made it more solidified in my mind came towards the very end of the film. We get to see the outcome of Lawrence's actions, and when she's told of her consequences, she just has this dismissive smirk, almost like it didn't matter because she had removed someone that she saw as lesser. This haughty attitude that she displayed in the moment, it was just kind of like the final straw for me. I mean, I'm glad it was captured on film because while I think she already deserved some painful, just drawn out torture, after that look, she needed to be flayed and then sewn back up to heal, then flayed again. I mean, At least her receiving some just consequences made for a slightly more hopeful conclusion. I mean, it doesn't bring anybody back, but at least the family can get some sort of closure. Now, this is a devastating story. And while buried somewhere in this is the topic of stand your ground laws, the film doesn't delve into this as extensively as it could. The events that play out make it very easy for anyone to claim they fear for their life and were then justified to shoot an offender. But the flaw in this is the vagueness that accompanies many of these laws. And it's not just Florida that has this. And I'm not even saying it's a bad idea. I mean, if someone comes into my house with ill intent, they're not leaving. But that doesn't mean I get to go out and yell at my neighbors, and then when they come over to my yard to respond, I can blast them with a gun. There's this harrowing statistic, too, that is shown on a title card at the very end. It shows the large disparity where white people are more likely to find success in claiming self-defense under the stand your ground laws when they kill black people. The opportunity to spend a little more time either speaking with legal experts, even lawmakers about these particular statutes would help to provide more insight into the rationale for creating them, but also maybe for more closely examining the wording so that loopholes and disparities can be eliminated. I know you're probably looking at me and then wondering why in the world I'd want to subject myself to such a troubling and sad movie. But it's expertly put together and it sheds light on an issue that needs to be addressed at large. I mean, yeah, this particular story is about one whacked out white woman and her rampage against her neighbors. But the outcome, it is dreadful and it's relevant, even timely for probably just about every neighborhood in the country. The video footage, it's edited well and it provides crisp, clear views of interactions with both the victims and the offender, allowing us to observe even small details such as facial expressions and vocal inflections that can allow us to judge the veracity of claims and accounts. And it is devastating to watch, as I've said, but it's important. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and then a bit of terrible violence. Now, as a reminder, I don't give couch ratings to documentaries, but The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix, this is one that you need to sweep everything off your calendar and then sit down to watch. Okay, so let's put the comment section in maybe a happier mood. What was your favorite game to play as a kid, or maybe even an activity? Now, because I'm Gen X and I was feral, one of my favorite things to do, other than setting small fires within my court, was to take my bike down to the river and then jump off of the worn down hills with all of my friends. And, you get lots of scrapes and scars from those days. Let me know what you did, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.